Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at NIO, and we're looking at the NIO ET9. NIO's new flagship sedan, the ET9, to feature a 120 kilowatt battery. Chinese Ministry of Industry and Information Technology published Tuesday a brand new batch of electric vehicles, which will soon become available in the country, including NIO's new flagship sedan, the ET9, and the N9 and the SUV BYD brand new Denza. The ET9 was unveiled at NIO's annual event in December 2023. Pre-orders opened immediately after the event, with the company saying that deliveries were planned to begin in the first quarter of 2025. The local media outlet Auto Home reported on Tuesday that the model will feature a 120 kilowatt battery. That's very impressive. Now, it did not specify whether the NIO brand model, the ET9, will offer the option to buy or rent a smaller battery to lower the price. The 100 kilowatt battery will be supplied by Chinese battery giant CATL. The ET9 is equipped with a self-developed 46 105 cylindrical battery offering a peak charging of 600 kilowatts with an energy density of 292 wattage and a capacity of 100 kilowatts. The model will also have access to the company's battery swap stations. This is where customers can swap the batteries for newly fully charged ones in a few minutes. The first one on the NIO sub-brand unveiled started customer deliveries in late September and is available with 60.6 kilowatt battery. This provides CLTC range between 501 to 555 kilometers, or with a larger one, 85 kilowatts. When unveiling it, the company said the ET9 is designed specifically for the new generation of high-end business users. In a recent note sent to clients last week, Deutsche Bank analyst Wang Bin said NIO will launch the ET9 sedan, the third generation of SUVs ES8 and ES7, and a brand new sedan named ET6 in 2025. Based on the statements, both the NIO ET5 sedan and its touring version ET5T will not be upgraded next year. Last month, the NIO CEO pointed out that the need for electric vehicle manufacturers to put the consumer's interests first, as the lack of systematic thinking can harm users' trust in the brand. In June this year, NIO launched in Europe the second generation of its flagship SUV, the ES8, also known as the EL8. Deliveries are planned to start over the next few days across Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, and Sweden. These are some of the markets that NIO operates in currently within Europe, and NIO wants to continue operating in these markets. If anything, they want to develop these markets quite further. So after being the first ever production model from the Shanghai-based brand, NIO first unveiled the second generation of SUV at the Shanghai Auto Show in April 2023. And now, of course, it's good to see that NIO is well on the way to, just fully focus on bringing the next generation brands to the market, such as Envy vehicles and Firefly vehicles. With additional news, EU rejects Chinese proposal for 33,000 minimum price on imported vehicles, imported EVs to be specific. And I don't think anyone is surprised on this, no one is surprised on this. But negotiations between China and the EU do continue in regards to this controversy, to this tariff that is being imposed on Chinese manufactured vehicle. And ultimately, I think this will probably have a heavy effect on European brands more than Chinese brands, because it seems like they're giving European brands and American brands time to catch up to the Chinese technology. But I would argue that's not the best way to catch up. Actually, the best way to catch up is to have them next to you so you can see everything that they're doing. The best way to compete with them and to catch up is to be close to them. Without this, you're just delaying the inevitable. And Chinese brands, regardless, will grow strength to strength. Granted, the European market is probably one of the best places in the world to sell vehicles, at a high margin to make the best profit. But there are other places that they can sell those electric vehicles. Further Asia, Africa, South America, the list goes on. So you're really just delaying the inevitable. And as China continues to expand its EV dominance, it's an unstoppable force. It's an unstoppable force. You might slow them down, but you'll only slow down their infrastructure development. That's the only huge effect you'll have. But brands are struggling to change. Look at Mercedes, look at Audi, look at BMW. They are struggling to change to adapt to the new climate. You see now well brands like Tesla has done. And really, when you look at it, Tesla shouldn't have done that well because Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, they had all the infrastructure, all the money in the world to beat Tesla. And they just didn't. They just chose to not do that. I think that says a lot about legacy automakers. They're stuck in their ways and they don't want to change. Let's be honest, they don't want to change. That's the problem. These brands, they don't want to have to build electric vehicles. It's not in their nature. They're very good at building reliable combustion engine vehicles. That's their passion. Changing their entire company outlet to build electric vehicle is very, very different for these German companies and European companies. Very different. So that's why you're seeing great success from China, because China never did well in the combustion engine era. They tried, but they just never really did well. They couldn't compete with Japan, they couldn't compete with Europe. Now you see it's completely different. China is slowly, just taking a step back. And what they did, they said, okay, we can't compete, or we choose not to compete, or not to continue competing with, you know, um, combustion engine vehicles. It's really difficult to do that because, especially to compete with brands that are already doing it so well. What are you going to do? What are you going to offer? Can you really build a brand that is better than Mercedes, BMW, Audi? It's really difficult. So China said, okay, what's one thing Europe and America doesn't have in high abundance? Electric vehicles. And China realized this a decade ago. So they started investing in these technological advancements heavily, and now it's paying off. So they're 10, 15 years ahead of Europe and America. And the only benefit that America really has is Tesla. And that's because Tesla started out as an electric company. That's all they know is electric vehicles. But why is there other American companies struggling? Ford, why are they struggling? There's many other American and European companies struggling to adapt to EV. Right now, Tesla is not struggling. They've went through the difficult times, and now they're reaping a lot of the rewards. So understand, when the Chinese start introducing cars like this, the European market really wants it. We really want these vehicles, and brands know that. Audi knows it, BMW knows it, Mercedes knows it, Volkswagen knows it. One of the markets that NIO is operating in is Germany. Building out a lot of charging stations and swapping stations in Germany. They're selling a lot of cars in Germany. You can imagine when they bring this car to Germany, how well it's going to do. Because this is like, the BMW i7 or the 7 Series, it's like the Mercedes Maybach. It's that big luxury car that's just like, it's for the elites. So NIO builds cars in all different range and all different brands. And how are you going to compete with that? It's just to name the inevitability. Right now, for European brands, it's better to take a loss temporarily and recover 10, 15 years from now than to try to slow down Chinese EVs, who have a lot of support from China because they're doing so well in China, by the way, and China is such a huge market. And there's other markets around the world. Granted, it's not the best for profits, but there's other markets around the world who want to buy electric vehicles that are quickly adapting. And these markets are going to continue growing. South America, Africa, they're going to look very different in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. These markets could outdo Europe because they're growing so quickly and they have such a larger population. So, and I personally really like this vehicle. I really do. I like a lot of NIO vehicles, and I personally really like this vehicle. Next on the agenda of conversation is HSBC cuts NIO's price targets despite expecting margins and volume growth. So they published a new research piece note lowering the firm's expectations for NIO's net profit over the next 3 years. HSBC is confident on the company's volume growth outlined due to the acceleration or accelerating product cycle that started in September with the launch of sub-brand's first model, which was unveiled. The analysts cut the forecast between 26 to 39% given the diluted product mix. With the introduction of new and cheaper sub-brands, Envo and Firefly. Firefly is just a code name, but we'll get the official name eventually. But I want to say this, right now, NIO stock, $5.58. The market cap is still incredibly small. And, for investors who want to keep, for investors who like NIO, like myself, and if you're similar to me in the sense that you want to keep NIO stock price as cheap as possible for as long as possible, these EU and American tariffs are actually perfect because this keeps the NIO stock price cheap, but NIO will continue to expand. They will continue to expand, honestly. So the company is expanding and growing, but the stock price isn't. That benefits me because I want it to stay as cheap as possible so I can buy as more as possible. And I have a tiny position, really and truly tiny position, 30 pounds, I should say, 7 shares, tiny position. But until I get that opportunity to invest 10K, 20K, 40, 50, 100K into NIO, even just 10K, until I get that opportunity, I want the stock price to stay as cheap as possible, ideally below $10. And it's been below $10 for quite some time. Quite some time. I think for the last 365 days it's been below $10. Last time it was anywhere close to $10, that was last year in December. Yeah, so it's a strange opinion to have, but I have the same beliefs for all companies that I invest in. I want to keep the stock price as low as possible for as long as possible because I like cheap companies that are undervalued. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.